Well, I'd always done radio, done the conventions on radio. I liked it much better than television seemed to be, what television seemed to me to be. I almost felt as if I were running some of it up there in my booth, looking down on the entire spectacle of the convention, like a symphony orchestra. It isn't true if I pointed my finger there, somebody would speak from there, but it almost seemed that way sometimes. Felt very intimately connected with the whole picture, the whole convention. I never wanted to be down on the floor with the delegates. I wanted to be just where I was, although radio, of course, was a fading medium, and so that wasn't going to last very long. But anyway, we heard that television was having a hard time, that Huntley and Brinkley were leading away in the ratings and in the audience acceptance, which they did with alarming frequency anyway. And Mr. Paley was, for some reason I don't know, was very much interested in this particular convention in San Francisco. It was, wasn't it?
I think so.
That's the Republican convention. So he was right on the scene, and he didn't like Walter's work. He just didn't like it. It was as simple as that. And he could have all sorts of lieutenants carrying out his words, his wishes, and this and that. But when it came right down to it, if he hears what you're saying or how you look and doesn't like it, that's it. He owns the place then, and he decreed that Walter wouldn't do the next one, the Democratic one in Atlantic City with President Lyndon Johnson as the candidate to be. So so I was up in I could never do anything except radio because you can't have dead air. And once we started up there in the booth, I was there. I couldn't go out. I couldn't go out to get a sandwich or do anything. I was right there at that mic. I had to sit there hour after hour and day after day, almost week after week, whole week. They used to last through Saturday, and Saturday mornings in the old days. So I never really appeared on television. I thought it was impossible. Well, the word came from Paley. When the word comes from Mr. Paley, that's it again. So they found somebody to sit down behind the microphone in my place as a temporary substitute, and I was taken out down to the floor of the convention, and I forgot I was in some delegation, and I was told that Walter would throw the air to me and I should talk. But about what? I wasn't used to that view of a convention. I wasn't used to being down the delegation. So I made up some sort of mildly humorous remarks. This was the Goldwater Convention. It comes back to me now. Well, Walter threw the air down to me, and I recited what I thought was mildly humorous remark, as I say, about Mr. Goldwater was against government ownership, so he's made arrangements to sell the post office next week and the Navy the week after. Just nonsense.
Yeah.
And sent it back to Walter. Walter didn't like any of that. He said, "Is that all that's on your mind?" Walter Cronkite in the booth. But Paley apparently enjoyed it, and he didn't like what Walter was doing. Mm-hmm. Walter Cronkite again. So that's the way it was. And then later on, it was suddenly decided that I would do the convention. Then it was decided I wouldn't do it all. I'd just do part of it, and Roger Mudd would do the other part. So by that time, I'd been wanting to go to Europe for years and be a foreign correspondent. And I'd had postponement after postponement. The company would say, "Stay until this event, stay until after that one." And years had gone by, literally, and I now had my plans made. I was going after the Lyndon Johnson inauguration, or whoever was to be inaugurated president. So I didn't really, I wasn't too taken with the idea of doing the television part of the convention, not only because I didn't think television would be as rewarding for me and the feeling I had about it and how to cover it and what I was doing there, but also because even if it led to bigger things, I didn't want bigger things. I was going to Europe. I had everything arranged. So it was much later. I was in an Italian restaurant for dinner with my wife in New York. Somebody brought in a tabloid newspaper, the Post, I guess, and there I was on page 1, and it said I'd been selected for this thing. I was looking at it with amazement. Mm-hmm. But just the convention, I didn't mean any more to me than that. And it also meant that Roger was an up-and-coming young man. Apparently he was to be the successor to Walter Cronkite. Mm-hmm. And I felt sort of obligation to, if I could help him or could show him or could tutor him in any way, which doubtful, but that I had an obligation to do that the way I suppose older workers feel that they do have that sort of well, I can only think of the same word again, obligation
Right.
to do. So that's the way it went.